Alright, so I had an idea for a project. Hi, welcome to the greatest, coolest, smartest project ever. Because science. I love science so much that I'm making myself an honorary scientist. Starting 5 years ago. No, I think it was longer than that. But we're working on a project. Welcome to the project. So it's part of a bigger project. So about 5 years ago, through a sequence, through a series of cause and effect events, I ended up down this path where I got this internal desire where I needed to start learning about astrology and tarot cards and magic and all things that live in the world of the occult. From that point on, my life kind of fell apart and went kind of fucking crazy. But in a really awesome type of way, right? So over the course of that time, over the course of that time, I have been doing an assortment of science experiments using occult science, spiritual science, esoteric science. Why would I want to do that? Especially when that stuff's all bullshit. Well, that was the point, is to see why it's not bullshit. So over the course of the past 5 years, I've amassed about 100 different journals, kind of documenting a journey. So what I'm doing right now is kind of expanding on it a little bit and throwing in components that I didn't think of before. So today, this is important. Shit, better fucking get this. Fucking awesome. I almost got hit here the other day. So today is the third quarter moon in Aquarius. Why is that important? Well, for one, it is the quarter waypoint. We're about a quarter of the way through the Lunar New Year. Rabbit year, water rabbit year to be precise. So in 3 months, there's going to be a full moon in Aquarius. And what's going to be cool is when we go back and rewatch all of this, which I don't know if I'm going to rewatch it. But everything that's going on in 3 months on that full moon is going to be a direct result of everything that's happening right now. As in, everything that we're doing right this moment, in 3 months' time, we're going to look back on this and go, holy shit. It's a good thing that we did that, because otherwise right now it wouldn't be exactly what it is. And I know we can argue with the whole case for causality and go, well, you know what? I mean, of course, 3 months from now is going to be directly affected by right now, because right now is the catalyst for everything that happens tomorrow, moving forward. Right. But the point that we're trying to get to is that this moment, everything happening today, in 3 months' time, we're going to look back and go, every single thing that's happening today on the full moon is connected directly to everything that happened right now. Now, I've seen this in my own work. So when I go back to my journals and I follow specific moon cycles over the course of 5 years, there's a link. So I see it. I don't need to be convinced. What I need to do is put something together that I think can convince everybody else. Right? See, in my head, the message coming through in my head is, I don't give a fuck what people think. I don't give a fuck what people buy into this shit. And I don't. But there are some people that I do. Who do you actually care gives a shit? And why? Science. Goddamn scientists. And every motherfucker that says astrology isn't real, magic isn't real, tarot cards are bullshit. The moon has no effect on us. Oh yeah? The fucked up thing is, like, this is going to be something that has to go on for a while, I think. I don't think it's going to be... Because what you have to understand is, like, working with that kind of stuff, especially with astrology, the astronomical aspects of astrology, is that it takes time. Like, literally, like, everything happening right... Like, I can't even test. I can't even test it until for 3 months. Which means I have to manage to stay alive for 3 months just to see if my theory is correct. How much of a pain in the ass that is? But you've been doing it for 5.5 years. Yeah, I know. That's a long fucking time. It's like the longest time. It comes with a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. But since I'm the only person smart enough to get it done, then so be it. If it gets me out to having to do shit that I don't want to do, so that I can do shit I do want to do, fine, I accept. Plus, I mean, from my particular perspective, I've been anointed by the gods to carry this out. Don't feel comfortable saying gods, let's say that the greater will of the forces of the universe have said, Derek, this is on you. Get this shit done. I accept. Challenge accepted. How is it going to look? I don't know. That's the thing. It's like you don't know until it's already there. That's the pain in the ass with this shit. It's like you can't see the future necessarily. I mean, I can see myself in the future going, oh, good thing I did that 3 months ago. But you don't really know. What do you want it to look like? Fucking Nobel Prize. That's what I want it to look like. A Nobel Prize where some motherfucker has to hand me a Nobel Prize to go, thank you for figuring this shit out. I've been waiting 2,000 years for you. You're welcome. Somebody record that so I can watch it over and over and over again. Why is this so important? Because it tells me that it is. Because I believe it is. It's important to me. I mean, it's become my life. How you doing, man? Why do you say hi to everybody? Because it's what I do. You know, I mean, it was around January, February 2018 where I decided that I wanted to take up the challenge of being the person to prove that all of these things are real and actually have practical benefits to them. And I'd argue, I maybe not even argue because I don't really need to argue, but I mean, 5 years later, I'm still carrying on with the work that I was doing. Plus, on top of that, I have this idea for what we're doing right now. So I like the way that yesterday went a lot. So I think what I want to do, I'm just throwing ideas out. But I think what I want to do is do 3 of these a day. See if I could do 3 of these a day. 1 in the morning, 1 after my first dose, and then 1 at night after my second dose. I don't think it's impossible. Beep, beep. Beep, boop, beep. No, but I know. I lost my train of thought. What are you saying? What was I saying? What was I saying? I was trying to figure out if that person was a girl or a boy. All right. All right, so what we're doing right now is we're doing part 1 of 3 for today. The idea is to do 3 of these fucking things a day. Because apparently there's something inside of me that wants to come outside of me, but the only way it's going to come out of me is if I let it out. And the only way I can do that is when there's nobody around. And technically, since you aren't there, I really have nothing to be afraid of. Like, I don't have to be nervous and be like, oh, you know, the people are going to judge me. There's nobody fucking here. It's just me and me. Hi, me. Magic? Magic. Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? Here. So, one of the principles of magic is like knowing what you want, knowing where you want to go, and then allowing for, we'll call it the universe, to fucking set the pieces up for you to get all the shit done that you need done. So, our intention with this is to get a Nobel Prize. At least one. And a really big government contract. Governments. Maybe even religious contracts. Because I don't want to work with people. I fucking hate working with people. I want to work with institutions and entities. I mean, it's not that I'm not a people person. I do like people, but institutions are like people too. It's just they're invisible. And they put collars around people's necks and take their identities away and give them numbers instead, which is really awesome. Almost like a reminder, you don't mean shit. Whoever you think you are doesn't mean shit. Right? All right, so how do we do this today? 3rd quarter moon in Aquarius. Why is it important? Because it's the quarter wave mark since the beginning of the lunar year. What was I doing on that day? I didn't write, I remember that. But I remember my journal entries saying, don't worry, you didn't miss much. And then I had some kind of breakthrough. I probably should have read that. That's okay. All right, so magic. Magic, what do we want to achieve? We want to achieve something fucking impossible. We want a Nobel Prize for weird science. Not WEIRDSCIENC, weird science, but WYRDPSIENCE, weird science. Weird, WIRD, is a derivative, well, I mean, it's the word that weird, WEIRD, came from. WYRD, weird, means something completely fucking different. Not completely different. I mean, you can find some links to them. But weird means fate, means destiny. It's like weird people are people who walk in their path, walking the way. Spiritual path. Okay, call it spiritual, call it metaphysical, call it whatever the fuck you want. A higher purpose. Science, PSI, instead of SCI, when you break down the word science, SCI, ENCE, ENCE. ENCE, the root ENCE, it means an act of. Sci, SCI, means to know. So science is an act of knowing. If you break the word down, etymologically. Science, PSIENCE, we take that same root, ENCE, an act of. Psi, PSI, comes from the word psyche. The word psyche, it means the mind, spirit, soul. It's basically saying that those three components, those are the three components. Those are all the same thing. So, science is an act of the mind, spirit, soul. As determined by fate and destiny. Weird science. Enter the Weird Science Foundation. Which is a thing. At the Weird Science Foundation, our primary objective is the research and development of occult, esoteric, and mystical sciences and how they relate to modern pop culture science, and bridging the gap between the two. One of my projects that I'm working on is learning physics so that I can use physics to explain metaphysical phenomena. We can do it with astrology, like retrogrades, for instance, right? One of the reasons that we have a heliocentric model for the solar system is because we don't know how to explain retrogrades. Like, they don't make sense. Like, why is the planet moving backwards? What is that? It's an optical illusion. All right. So they must be going around instead. And the optical illusion is caused from the Earth passing by a particular planet. All right. I accept that. But at the same time, we can use physics to explain the principles of a retrograde and why that is actually important, from an energetic level at least. The planet itself may not be literally moving backwards, but it appears to be when perceived. And perception is reality to some degree. I mean, not 100%. But the idea behind it is that at an energetic level, at a metaphorical level, it makes sense. And what it's saying makes sense. To travel through time is to travel through space, right? When a planet goes retrograde, what it's doing is it's moving backwards in time. It's moving over a small window of space. Maybe about 10 degrees. Let's just say 10 degrees, arbitrary numbers. That planet's going to continue on its course over the path of those 10 degrees, and then at some point it's going to stop, come backwards through those 10 degrees again before going back over them again. It's like taking a lawnmower over one spot. You walk in the lawnmower, then you move it backwards, and then you move it back again. 2 steps back to take 2 steps forward. Now, because of magnetic, electric, and gravitational forces, invisible forces, that affect every fucking planet. Every planet. If you look at the solar system, look at it all spin around each other, it's all because of magnetism and electricism and gravitational pulls that all the planets are fucking pulling and pushing on each other in such a perfect way that they just spin and spin and spin in predictable and observable ways, right? So when the Earth bypasses a planet and that planet goes retrograde, it's not that nothing is happening. The forces between those two planets are being stretched in a way that they're not normally being stretched. But if you take it from the idea that a planet is going backwards in time, it's going forwards in time to move backwards in time to move forwards in time again. Something I've picked up by studying these, especially Mercury retrograde. And maybe this makes sense. Maybe this makes sense to astrology people. Is that over the period of that time, so there's 3 phases to a retrograde. It's called the pre-shadow, the post-shadow, pre-shadow, retrograde, post-shadow. So that chunk of time, that window of time, where normally it would take a planet, say, 10 days to go through. Now it's going to take 30, because that planet's going to go forwards, as if it's going to have experiences, right? Treat them like people. It's moving forward through its life, and then it stops to go backwards. What's it doing? It's reflecting on everything that just fucking happened, because there was something really important to learn that's going to help it when it starts moving forward again. It's like when coming into life, right? It's like going into life and then hitting an invisible wall and feeling stuck. What do you do when you feel stuck and hit an invisible wall? What I've learned that I'm supposed to do is once I feel that stuck and go, fuck, I can't move any more forward. What the fuck do I do? Let's take a couple steps back to see how the fuck we got here in the first place. Because if we know how we got here, then maybe it'll show us how to get through there. So we come backwards and we start reflecting and we start reviewing things and going, oh, this happened, that happened, da 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 da. Oh, I was working on an astrology project. All right. So now we come back forward again and we hit that wall again, but now the wall's gone and we can keep moving forward. And you know what? It's an optical illusion and it has absolutely no effect, but for some reason it inspired that thought in me, so yeah, it has an effect. But now, at the same time, I'm a writer. I'm a writer, science writer. So I keep track of pretty much every single day of my life. So it's not even a matter of me having to kind of force myself to remember as much as just fucking do it. Realistically, I could demonstrate astrology through my own life, through my journals. And I do. That's why I'm convinced. That's why all right, perfect. 5 years later, yep. Did not waste my time in any way, shape, or form. But now, what do we do with it? I don't know, let's educate the ignorant people. Well, let's put together an educational program that the ignorant people can actually resonate with, because it makes them less ignorant. Because you know what I fucking hate more than anything else? People telling me that my life is bullshit. When people say tarot cards are bullshit, astrology's bullshit, magic's bullshit, witches aren't real, you know what you're saying to me? You don't really exist. All the things you do are pretend. Which then says to me, like, I shouldn't exist, which means you don't want me to exist, which means that you don't like me. But, why does it matter? Like, why is it so important? Well, the world's kind of running into a fucking giant mess, and if I'm correct, and like everybody does have like a path, because I'm not the only one that believes that, by the way. This isn't just an isolated case where Derek is just fucking cuckoo bird. Like, there's a bunch of fucking cuckoo birds. There's people kookier than me. Well, I don't know about that. But if other people can see it, if I can see it, but yet there's still this collective that can't see it, or refuses to see it, or doesn't want to see it, or isn't ready to see it, I have to presume, well, maybe there'll be a point where people are open-minded enough to actually look at it and go, okay. But something I've learned, because I do spend a lot of time working with atheists, self-proclaimed atheists, who are probably the most ignorant people I've ever met, some of them. The word scientific method keeps coming up. So one of my projects for today, especially after I'm done with this, is I'm going to go home and I'm going to learn as many of the scientific methods as possible. And then I'm going to create a new scientific method for the study of magic. And the occult sciences, because a lot of it has to do with personal bias and confirmation bias, which in scientific terms doesn't mean diddly shit. But that's because science is wrong. That's where science is wrong. Because personal experience and confirmation bias is exactly what the fuck you're looking for. Because once we apply the principle of how many times does a coincidence have to happen before it's not a coincidence anymore? Because you can easily say, oh, well, that's just a coincidence. And you wouldn't be wrong. Of course it is. But how many times does that coincidence have to continually happen before you start going, all right, there's something worth exploring over here? Which is why I'm going to get handed a Nobel Prize for the research and development and of a fucking dead science that Jesus Christ and his minions of the church did their best to destroy. Because if you remember, because you've got to keep in mind, science today, like, just in the groups that I've rolled with, and mind you, these are some low-level people. Like, they barely know how to fucking form a thought. All they know how to do is just fucking repeat shit that they've been told, and then argue with anything that doesn't have physicality to it. This is fine. It's fine. It's all right. Ignorance is strength. The less you know, the more you can live in your la-la land. So, You seem really agitated about this, like you want to prove people wrong. I do, but I do. I know I do. I definitely do. And that could be a problem because once I start making it about making people feel wrong and feel stupid, then that ultimately I'm just going to be the one that feels wrong and stupid at the end of the day. So it's better that I get it out of me now, because also keep in mind this is a form of like therapy. By acknowledging it and facing it and looking at it dead in the eye, what I'm doing is I'm taking power back away from it. So yeah, that part of me that's petty and that wants to fucking prove people wrong and rub their fucking nose in it, I have to give him some breath. Let him burn himself out a little bit so that I can look at the project again from a more objective standpoint. Because that's a part of it too. Personal bias and confirmation bias, all of that shit, like it's not objective. But at the same time, you can take an objective look at biased research by continually looking at it and taking the bias out of it. There's a trick that I learned a long time ago. Around 2018, I was studying alchemy from Eliphas Levi, one of the greatest alchemists ever. And in his book, The Doctrine and Ritual of High Magic, written in 1863, he taught me about the universal medicine. To heal any wound, right? So I took this idea and I applied it to myself. The thing with alchemy is that it's not always literal. It's like figurative, it's metaphorical. The wounds that I'm looking to heal are not physical wounds, but internal, emotional, and mental wounds. And spiritual wounds. Don't worry, it's just cancer coming out. So what I would do is I would write a question. Anytime I was like agitated about something, I would write a question down. I was like, what's bothering me? And then I would answer the question to the best of my ability, right? And then after I was done writing it, I would go back and read it. I remember the fucking massive breakthrough that I had that day. Well, I remember having the breakthrough. I don't remember exactly what the breakthrough was, but what I did was I read it. I think I read it twice. And then the second time, the first time it was kind of grungy feeling, but then the second time I read it, it took me out of the picture. I was able to look at it from an objective standpoint and go, all right, well, what's the advice that I would give this person if this was someone who was writing to me? And then I had this like, holy shit, bro, I think you need to start taking your own advice. Maybe that's the key to this. So like, what advice would I give myself right now? Like if I was just a regular guy going, hey man, I need some advice. Just keep doing what you're doing because you're doing an amazing job. Thank you. Get your shit together. Well, if you wanted to prove that you had your shit together, this should be it. Thanks. Because you're actually doing something. Oh, dude, does that mean I have my shit together now? What do you think? Yeah. I'm working on the most important science project ever, and I need to be best friends with Elon Musk to really make it work. All right, so intention setting, Nobel Prize. But before the Nobel Prize, we're friends with the best friends. Be best friends. Best friends. Like literally BFFs where we get each other birthday presents. Hey, bestie. But in order to get there, we have to get through today. That's the most important thing. Because if I can get through today, then I can become friends with, be at BFFs with Elon Musk, then I can get a Nobel Prize. So we have goals. We have, see what we're doing is we're setting up checkpoints, like internal checkpoints. Visualizing them. Can you see it happening? Derek, those are fucking stupid, impossible ideas. They're only stupid, impossible ideas to you because you can't do it. To me, they're practical goals. Yeah, they're impossible things, but that's the point. Sometimes I think about 6 impossible things before breakfast. This is the way. And then we're going to mend our relationship with Hugo Boss so that I got my job back. Well, I get a better job. Because they realize how much more valuable I am than they are. How much value we add to each other's existence. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I had a hissy fit and I had to let it out because if I didn't, I was gonna fucking explode. And unfortunately, I had to call the watchdogs of the company to back me up on some shit that I'm just being selfish about. Like, I made it all about the money. No, I made it more about, it wasn't just about the money. I made it about the money, but I also made it about principle as well. Because if you got principles, you gotta stand up for them shits. Yeah? Isn't that the way? You stand up for the principles that you have. And mine is when I feel like there's an injustice being done against me, I'm gonna fucking stand the fuck up against it. Instead of just fucking taking it like a fucking power bottom. The magic part is when I already forgave them. I forgive them. It's not the people I'm mad at. It's not the institution I'm mad at. I'm not mad. There's no reason to be mad. I'm actually excited and grateful that everything that happened between me and that company did exactly the way that it did, because if it didn't, I wouldn't be doing exactly what I'm doing right this second. And this is the most important thing I've ever done. I'm not saying it's going to be the only important thing. It's an important thing that is bred out of all of the other important things that I've been doing throughout the course of my 42 years. All I do is important shit. Because I'm amazing. I just got a flash of the future where I have to sit and watch this. I'm okay with that. Like what I'm seeing is lots of people, and we're all watching this. There's laughing. There's some making fun. But I also see me sitting there going, fuck yes. That's the part where everybody stops. Wait, he knew the whole time? Yeah. How? Because I have a direct communication line with my fucking future self, who's showing me a potential future that I want to see. And it involves this, which is perfect timing, which kind of goes back to what I was saying about the retrogrades, and specifically this Mercury retrograde that we're in right now, because who knows, maybe after it's over, I'm not going to want to do this shit anymore, or at least take a break from it. But like I was saying, let's imagine, I'm not gonna waste my time with fucking giving details to people that aren't gonna understand them. But to travel through space is to travel through time. When a planet retrogrades, it's a moment to look back on the past. It's a moment to connect the past, the present, and the future all at once. Because the point in time, shit, that's a really good idea. Well, Mercury is going retrograde in Taurus right now, which means that the Gregorian time calendars from that window of time are now aligning. There was something. I get it. right? So we're recording the past, I'm the present, and then I'm looking at the future. So all three of us are kind of aligned right now. Our minds are linked. Because you gotta keep in mind too, thought doesn't experience time. You experience time. It's timeless. It's outside of time. So the past, the present, and the future versions of you are all fucking happening at the same time, and they can talk to each other too. Did you ever ask yourself, future Derek, can you give me a message that'll make sense that I can put in here? Kim. Well, what you can talk about? What? I'm not rushing you. I'm rushing myself. Why? Because I want to put it here. Why? Because I want it to be recorded. What are you asking me why for? You should know why. Sorry. No, think of it like this. It's like if wasn't that enough? No, I know that was enough, but that's like that's not tangible. The only way that's gonna be tangible is if we're literally in that situation at some point in the future, which only you would know. I mean, unless the light bulb just went off. So. All right. So, hypothetically speaking, the future you, future me, who is sitting in a crowd of people watching this video right now, you're watching this thinking about this. What was going through your head at the time? Which is why I can hear you. Because you don't have a choice but to think about right now because you're watching it. But how does this guy play into it? Well, this guy, the one that we're watching, is just a reflection of the past being shown to the future in the present, right? Does that make sense? Are we watching this during a retrograde?